Thank you for tuning in to sportsandproper.com. I'm Mai Tran, and this is a special edition with Brian McNamee, The Untold Truth. I want to talk about Joe Torre. What is your relationship with him?
I don't really know. It was tough in the beginning. I mean, I kind of talked to Joe, and I think they didn't have the proper. I don't know if Joe knew my role there, as far as the whole truth about my role there, as far as who was paying me, and the fact that his staff didn't really know my role, and I had some problems with his staff, and then, you know, I think there were some stories made up about. I mean, there was one story. I had to go to Joe's office about. I got called into Joe's office by Cashman about teaching Andy Pettit how to throw a slider, because I was in the training room. I was in the weight room, and there was a coach there. He was the bullpen catcher, and Andy's doing his work. And I just said, I caught Andy's bullpen. I said, Andy, how do you hold your cutter? Because Andy's cutter has like a slider break as opposed to like a cut fastball. So that's just a whole nother topic. But I just said, hey, Andy, how do you hold your, because we were doing ball tosses. I had a baseball in my hand. And it was like, I give him 30 seconds in between. I said, and the guy's on the bike. I didn't really talk to him much. And I just remember that. I said, Andy, how do you hold your cutter? Because I pitch, and I wanted to know. Catching him, I saw a slider break, and then I know, so I was trying to check it out. And I think it was 2 days later, I'm getting called out by Cashman saying that I was overheard teaching Pettit how to throw a slider. I think it was a slider. Next thing you know, I'm in front of Joe's office. He's like, did you do that? I'm like, no. And then he had to go through the spiel about saying, well, you know, if a pitcher comes to you, there's a pecking order like any business. You know, you have to go to Mel. Mel then goes to Joe or Andy, the player. You know, Cashman went right to Joe. Stuff Joe doesn't need. Joe was sitting there putting his vitamins in a bag. Like, it's something he doesn't need. That was one of them. There's about 10 more, I could tell you, that were just outlandish things about me. That Joe was just finding out. Like, he would find out, he would address it. I find out, I believe it was maybe over the summer. I interviewed for Joe's book. The writer from SI, Verducci, Tom Verducci, who actually I've worked with before because of Clemens. On, I think it was a video, an article, something like that, with, I don't even know who it was, ESPN or SI. And Tom called me up, and he said, Joe would like an interview. And I'm like, what? And I would talk to Joe anytime. Like, I would have sat down, and just like we're sitting down, because whatever his opinion about me is, it's not what it seemed to be. He still might think I'm an asshole, but that doesn't matter. I still worked hard for him, and I still got his players ready to play. And I had, you know, I believe that the push towards the end of the season, I had something to do because of the players that I trained and the work that I did in 2000 when we won the World Series. But I would sit down with Joe, but I was just, it was intriguing. So I couldn't believe Verducci that he would ask me to sit. I said, Joe didn't ask you that. And he said, yeah. Joe said, I asked Joe if you would interview, if I can interview you. And Joe was like, yeah, I'd be happy to have McNamee, Brian, whatever he called me, asshole, interview for my book. But that was Joe not knowing how I felt about him. And the interview went on for a couple hours. I think that's coming out in December. So I'd be interested to see what that is portrayed like. I trust Tom to a degree. I'm pretty sure, you know, it's very hard for me to think that he's going to make me look like an idiot. But we touched, I was honest, and I touched upon a lot of, you know, different areas with him, and Verducci gives a decent interview. So that's really that's what I think of Joe, or that's how I know Joe.
Aside from his book, has he reached out to you any other time?
I know he was supposed to email. He never did. I don't think so. No, not that I recall.
This is sportsandproper.com. I'm Mai Tran. Thank you for joining us. This is an interview with Brian McNamee, The Untold Truth. See you again. Bye.